In this presentation, we are going to learn about files. A file is a data structure which is a collection of related information stored in secondary memory. In order to process the file or file contents, we need to bring the file contents from the secondary memory to the main memory. Then we can process, in the sense we can modify the contents, and we can create a new file, or we can override the existing file. This chapter contains the information about how to open a file, to access, how to modify the file contents, how to search for relevant or useful information, and how to create as well as to write contents onto the file. As I said, in order to read contents from a file, we must open a file. What do you mean by opening a file? So opening a file is nothing but the interface between the program and the secondary memory through the operating system. Once we open a file, we are going to create an interface between the program and the secondary memory, and this interface is nothing but a buffer. It stores the entire file contents or the portion of the file contents, which maintains a pointer to read the appropriate file contents. Let us see how to open a file in Python. In Python, we don't have a complicated syntax where you have to declare a file of a data structure of type file like in C. We have very simple syntax. The syntax goes like this. We need to create a variable for the file handle. It means that API file pointer which tracks the buffer, the space that is provided in the main memory for the entire file or for the segment of the file, equal the variable file handle equal the open method followed by the file name. The file name can be a fully qualified file name, or you can specify just a file name with omitting the complete path. If the file contains in the current working directory, then you don't have to specify the complete path. If the file resides in some other location, then you have to specify the complete path, that means fully qualified file name. And this open method returns a file handle, and this file handle is nothing but a pointer of the buffer that is being allocated for a file called emboss.txt in the main memory. And if you print this file handle, you will get this information like the type of the file handle and the file name of the file name which is stored in the secondary memory, and the access mode of access. And remember, the open method will return a file handle only if the file exists in the secondary memory. Otherwise, it will return void or none or null. This diagram represents the main 4 operations that are related to a file. You can see we have a program here, a program written with the open, close, read and write, and all these operations require the file handle, that means the interface with the pointer to a buffer, and this is the secondary memory. So we have a handle which has got a space for the file that is present in the secondary memory, and all these operations, open, close, read, write, need a file handle in order to execute these operations. Let us take up the text file. A text file can be thought of as a sequence of lines, something like a string which can be defined as a sequence of characters. In a text file we find number of lines containing words, spaces and special characters. In order to break these file contents into lines, there is a special character called end of the line or new line that is being used to define a line. In Python, we use a new line character as a \n, which is a string constant. Let's take up a string here called stuff with this content. Visually we can see 4 characters, but we have one a string constant or escape character which is a new line character, and if you take the length of this string using a length function, this returns 3 because this new line character is considered as a single character. Now how to read the files? I mean reading the file contents. There are 2 methods. First method is you read a file contents line by line, and second method is you read the whole contents of a file and transfer or copy into a string. Let me take up the first method. The first method requires a for control statement. What we do here is we use a for statement to read each of the line at a time from the file. In order to read the file contents line by line, first we need to open a file. So we are opening a file which is a text file, which file the open method returns the file handle, and if we are here we are interested to count the number of lines present in the text file. That's why we initialize the line counter, count is equal to 0, and then we use a for control statement for line in file handle. You can use other for control variable, not necessarily a line, but here we have used a meaningful name for a control variable. For each line is read from the file, and for each of the line that is read from the file we are going to increment the line counter, and then finally we are going to print the line counter after termination of the for loop. That means we have reached the end of the file. Suppose you want to display the file contents. What you have to do is before count or after count write print line, which prints the line. So what is the output if we print? So we will get one blank line between each of the line present in the text file. What happens in Python is whenever a line is read, the Python reads the line till a new line is reached. All the characters till the new line is reached are copied, and new line is inserted for this line. And if we write a print again, print again appends the new line. So we'll be having a two new lines. One is new line that is added by the Python while reading a file content, and second one is a new line generated by the print statement. That's why if you write print statement here, you will be having one blank line space between the file contents. So that's what is illustrated here. So Python takes care of splitting the data in the file into separate lines with a new line, and Python reads each line through the new line and includes the new line as the last character, and the for loop reads the data one line at a time, and so on. And we saw that previous example gives the count, line count for a file having a size in terms of KBs or MBs or even GBs. When to use this method? Method 1, using of a for loop to read a file contents line by line. For example, we have a main memory which is of only 1 MB. 1 MB that is being shared is used for operating system and other processes, as well as to our program. That means for the buffer, file handle buffer. And let us say we have a text file to be read is of 2 MB, so we don't have space. So in this case we have to use a for statement to read a secondary file contents line by line. We cannot read entire file contents, and we cannot store it in a string because we don't have space in the main memory. The buffer that is being allocated may be of 500 KB or 200 KB out of 1 MB. So you have to choose the suitable method based on your memory configuration of a system, as well as the file that you are interested to read, the file size of the file that you are interested to. Let me take up the second method, reading the whole content. So in this method we have to use a built-in function called read, which is associated with the file handle. Let me illustrate with a segment of a simple program segment. We need to open a file. That means this file is being opened in read mode there's no descriptor, and then use the read method which is associated with the file handle. This read method will read the entire file and returns the contents as a string. That means we need to have something on the left hand side, a string variable. So now INP is a string which holds the whole file. That means all the contents. And if you print the number of characters, length of the string, you get the total number of characters present in the file. And if you want to access only a first 20 characters, you take a slice of the slice like this, colon 20, means you will get 0 to 90, first 20 characters. If you want the last 20 characters, you write as print INP, here length of INP minus 21, colon, no second index. That gives you the last 20 characters. Once we have opened the file, we need to process the file contents. We may not be interested to process all the contents. We are interested to process only a few lines or a set of sequence of characters. How do you search for a given pattern containing a sequence of specific characters? In Python, we have a function called starts with, which is associated with the string. Starts with is a Boolean function, string function, which takes one argument, is a string, and returns a Boolean value true if the string that is contained in the parameter is found in the given line of text, returns false otherwise. Let's illustrate the role of starts with. For example, let us say we are interested in to print the names of students who have written a request letters. Let us say we have a text file containing so many student letters, and you know every request letter starts from the keyword from colon. We want to print the names of those students along with the from. What we have to do is you read the file in a read mode, then for each line check whether this line starts with from. If it starts with from, that means it returns true. You print the line. That means you will get the from as well as the name of the student. So this is one simple program segment to illustrate the role of and whenever you print the line, you get a double spacing effect. I have told you already. While reading a file from the using a line by line reading, Python will insert a new line as a normal new line character. Then print in Python will include one more new line. So we have one additional blank space, one space, line space between the file contents. Now you can normally, whenever we write a request letter from the name and then we find so many blank spaces, you can remove those blank spaces by using a strip method. rstrip will remove the white spaces from the right side of the string. If you want to remove the white spaces from both the sides, then use a strip. So line is equal to line strip, the new statement that we are adding to remove these additional white spaces. So why we have to search the file? So we normally search the file to get the content we are interested to process. So while searching for interesting lines, we need to discard or we need to ignore or skip the uninteresting lines. This can be done using a suitable method called starts with. So same function, same segment of code is written now little differently here compared to the previous version of this program. So here we are writing if not line starts with from. If it starts with from, we process here. We have not mentioned any processing statement, then we are just printing that line. So this code is to skip the uninteresting line. That means we are not interested if something starts with other than from, and if something starts with from, yes, definitely you process. So you can see if not line dot starts with from, you continue. That means you don't process the line. Once it starts with from, then only you process the line. We can also use find method which is associated with the string to simulate a text editor search. We must have seen the text editor with the find and replace. So we can have a simple code in Python which simulates the search operation in a simple text editor. For example, we want to search a file containing the string something like this at uct.ac.za. Suppose we want to know the host name. We want to identify the lines having this domain name uct.ac.za. How to write a code? Open a file like before. Open a file, read file line by line, chop up the white spaces here right side. Then you use this function. Instead of starts with, you write if line.find is equal to -1, you continue. What is this find function does? Find function finds the first match which is present, match of a string which is present in the find function, and it returns the index of the first matched character. And if the string that is being specified as a parameter to a find is not present in the entire string, then it returns -1. That means if this statement line.find of the parameter string, if it returns -1, it means that the line doesn't have this domain name. Don't do anything, continue. If it is other than -1, like 0 or any other number, that means this string which is specified in the find is present somewhere in the string line, and you can print the line or you can process such lines. Processing this, suppose you want to you have an email with all these domains and you want to know just the usernames, so you can get all those things by reading the relevant portion once this is found. So this is how one can use a find, a method, to search for a interesting line. So remember, starts with is a Boolean function, returns true or false. Find is not a Boolean function, it returns an integer, positive integer, when there is a match occurs between the string that is passed as an argument in the find with the line of text, and returns -1, negative value, if there is no match. It is always appropriate to ask the user to enter the file name string each time the program is executed, so that the user can provide different files for processing. For that, we need to add a statement which reads the file name, fname equal to input the message, and in the open we have to write the string which represents the file name. In case the user types the file which doesn't exist in the system, this scenario leads to an exception. To handle this exception, we can safeguard the code by using try and except. So try, you safeguard the file opening and raise the exception by printing a message and then exit. Otherwise, on successful locating of a file, we can process the file. In this program, we are going to count how many lines starts with the subject. For example, we have a file containing letters. Every letter has got a subject as well as from. You can check whether the line starts with subject, and then you can print the entire subject of a letters present in the file. Writing contents onto the file. To write a content onto the file, we need to open a file with the mode W as a second parameter. If you write the second parameter as R, then it is a read mode. So it means that the file called output.txt is opened in a write mode. If the file already exists and you are opening it in a write mode, then it clears all old contents and starts afresh. So you need to be careful while opening a file in write mode. If the file doesn't exist, a new file is created with the designated file name. Now, how to write the contents onto the file? We use the method called write to transfer the string contents onto the write method. The default write mode is a text for writing. Here is the program segment. So we have a string called line1 containing sequence of character with the new line. Why this new line need to be inserted? While writing contents onto the file, the write method will not append a new line character. If you use a print method in Python, print will append a new line character. Write method, which is associated with the file handle, will not append the new line. So in order to create the file with lines, we need to append new line at the end of the every string and call this write method, which is associated with the file handle fout with the parameter a string that we are interested in to write onto the secondary storage. Once you are done with writing of number of lines or a single line without single string without new lines, you have to make sure that all these contents which are present in the buffer maintained by the file handle are transferred back onto the secondary storage. To do so, we need to close the file with the method close, which is associated with the file handle. This is not mandatory. Normally, upon program termination, all the buffer contents are transferred back onto the secondary storage, and it is a programmatically wise move to always close the file which has been opened for reading or writing purpose. So these are the few exercise programs. Already I have communicated the program code to you. Execute code and execute these programs. So these are the links for further reading. Refer these links for more functions and more illustrations and programming examples.